What's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. We are here in Austin, Texas, doing the first drive of this car right here. This is it. This is the all-new 2023 Acura Integra A-spec. But before we get into this bright Apex blue example, let's talk about what's going on here. We have already brought you the full review of the Integra A-spec, the return of that mighty name. I'm gonna leave the link of that first full review and drive at the end of this one. This particular review, I wanted to focus on two specific things: the transmissions. The A-spec comes with a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine, but you get a choice of going with a 6-speed manual with a limited slip diff or a CVT automatic transmission. What we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on two drive routes to showcase first the CVT and how that performs, how that behaves, because Acura says they have gone through and kind of changed things up. And then of course we're gonna get into the slick shifting 6-speed manual transmission to find out which way should you go. Is it all about just going manual, or are you still getting a nice driving, fun, engaging experience in the new Integra? But before we go for the drive, I want to show you a couple things on this particular one. First of all, it's Apex blue. That is the signature color for the A-spec. So if you get a base Integra, you cannot get it in this color. There's also a couple other things to make that connection to the past with people kind of doing mods and personalizing their Integras. Of course, Acura is going to have accessories that you could pick up at your local dealership to maybe change the look a little bit and bring some of your own personality. Let me show you a couple of those things. First of all, this one has the optional 19-inch wheels. So this is a nice satin black wheel. Normally the wheels are 18 inches and they're sharp gray. This is that nice satin black. I love the style of the wheel. 235 on the width, 35 series sidewall, but that's not all. Look what we got. Some carbon fiber goodness. They dumped a couple buckets of carbon fiber on the mirror caps. That's another accessory. You have the side sill extensions that are in gloss black. You can also get those in carbon fiber as well that run along the bottom portion of the Integra. And then out back, my favorite part is gonna be this beautiful carbon fiber deck lid spoiler with that functionality, but with also that great look. Now, the Integra is not just about how it looks, and I know there's a lot of debate over the looks, but let's go ahead, let's see which is better to buy. Should you go with the CVT? And that opens up the door to more trims, including the base trim, or should you just go all in, the top A-spec trim, and get the 6-speed manual? If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle here in Austin. All right, guys, we're gonna start off with the CVT Integra. I do have it in sport mode, both on the transmission and also your mode selector, but on throttle, here we go. So remember, this has a simulated program of 7 speeds, 7 different speeds. It really helps bring down that overall drone of a typical CVT, and all CVTs are not created equal. All right, what I want to do is I want to go on throttle. We're actually going to use the paddles, the silver paddles, to go through the gears, the simulated gears. But if you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. Little bit of tire spin. Does a great job simulating the gears. And what I like about it is that on some of the roads that are a little tight and twisty, you could actually just keep it in, say, third, and it actually just holds it, which is wonderful. That's what you want to really have that engagement in driving. But if you compare this to other CVT transmissions, it does behave differently. Quick shifts though, very quick with the simulated gears. Let me do another on throttle. I'm gonna come to a stop here. All right guys, here we go, on throttle, here we go, on throttle. Waiting for the boost a little bit in the beginning, but you can see those simulated gears. The wonderful news is you're still getting all of that great suspension work, all the great chassis tuning, and that really kind of opens up how this car responds to the driver. And that's what Acura wants. They want this to be a fun, engaging driving car. You can see the way through these nice bends, these right and left sweepers, holds a line very easy. And really, I mean, it's nice to have the option, if you don't want to road through your own gears, to have some type of automatic setup. Let me know how you're feeling if they should have had more of a conventional torque converter automatic transmission rather than the CVT. But it does seem different to me, the way it behaves compared to, say, the CVT in a Honda Civic. So that's the nice thing to report. Still, the seats, everything feels good. You got the same great style. But I'm telling you, speed-wise, it gets up to speed real quick. All right, guys, I wanted to change the angle a little bit here just to kind of give you that bird's eye view. With the shifter, remember, you want to go all the way back to the S. That's going to put it in full sport mode. And you can see on the dash, the red, we are in sport mode with the dynamic mode selector switch. But if you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. Not too shabby with the simulated gears. And I think the one thing that I'm not loving is how much time it takes to get going. I wish that it was a little bit more instantaneous with the on throttle. Let me show you again. We're gonna come to a complete stop. I'm gonna use the paddles on the back of the steering wheel to see if we could quicken this up. On throttle, a little bit better. But I tell you, once you get going and using those paddles, it's very, very responsive. And I think that's the nice thing to report. You're not getting that crazy CVT drone, which is wonderful. And I just really like how the Integra just drives overall, even with the CVT automatic transmission. Let's do another acceleration. We're gonna put it back into drive and then back into sport. Not using the paddles. On throttle. See, it just takes a little bit of time there. Still quite capable. Feedback is great. Coming through the suspension, coming through the steering. Nice little back road here. So I think the thing that I'm most impressed with is how the ECU in the system is tuned to do the simulated gears. And I'm also very, very impressed with it doesn't stay pegged and just have that high RPM drone. It keeps dropping the revs as it's going through the simulated gears, really making it feel more like a traditional torque converter automatic transmission. The one thing that is different, like I said, is off the line, it's a little sluggish. And when you say are just driving right now, we're doing 32 miles an hour, I get on throttle, it's taking a second before we get off and running. That's another area where with a torque converter transmission, you get that more crisp downshift and engagement to help kind of get you going and make you feel all together as one between the engine, you, and the transmission. But I think it's a viable option for people who don't want to roll their own gears, and you're still getting that same turbocharged power. Obviously, the other downside is no limited slip diff, and from a dead stop is where you're gonna feel the limited slip diff not having it in the automatic equipped Integra. So here we go, once again, on throttle. Especially in the turns. When you come out of a turn, you get on it, you can tell that it doesn't have a limited slip diff. But they really wanted the enthusiast version, the one with the manual, to have that helical limited slip diff, and that's why it's a no-cost option. But I tell you, they really did a great job with the chassis and the suspension. And obviously, the adaptive dampers are doing a great job. But we're gonna get back and swap vehicles, go with the manual transmission Integra with the helical limited slip diff and compare the two. So let's go ahead and jump onto that horse. All right, guys, switcho, changeo. We're now in the liquid carbon 6-speed manual transmission car. Obviously, you gotta go top of the A-spec trim to get the manual with the limited slip diff. Everything else, though, on the interior is gonna be identical. Obviously, there's no pedals on the back of the steering wheel with the 6-speed manual transmission equipped car. But why don't we do a quick on throttle? I'm actually gonna shut off the traction control just like I did with the CVT equipped model, and we have it in sport mode to keep it even Stevens, same road, different transmission. If you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go, smoke them if you got them. Obviously, the fun factor on the acceleration is a lot more intense. You need to know what you're doing with the 6-speed manual. Let me go ahead, I'm gonna slow it down again. This time I'm gonna be a little bit more gingerly with the throttle, and we'll do it from a slow roll, just to give you an idea, just like I did with the CVT. So we're at about 1600 RPM. On throttle, here we go. Nice. Nice little chirping tire. Chirping tire's a happy tire. But I love how crisp the engagement is. Nice short throws. It does feel a lot like the Civic Si 6-speed manual, but that is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. They put a different shift knob on it, which is weighted. Weighted shift knob is actually gonna help the actual shifting process from gear to gear to gear. You got the lighter flywheel, which is awesome as well. And it's just nice because obviously you're just more in tune with what's going on with the car. But still the same great adaptive dampers, all 4 corners. I just like the way that I really know what gear I'm in. They're not simulated gears, and just, it really puts a smile, a huge smile to your face as you're rolling through the gears. When you get close to that red line, it starts to flash, the tag starts to flash red to let you know when to shift. But just like the CVT, obviously very balanced. It's gonna be a little bit better on handling because it is a little bit lighter. The 6-speed manual transmission is lighter than the CVT. So you're even gonna have that much better handling compared to the automatic Integra. But the seats, same, feel great. Everything is well within reach. And of course, you're getting that great look of the new Integra. I think my favorite part is definitely the way they did the headlights and the way that they did the lift back on the back end of the business with the taillights and everything. Looks really, really good. Don't forget, when you go manual transmission, you are getting the automatic rev match downshift. So if you're not good at heel-toe downshifting yourself, the car does it for you, and it does it very, very successfully. It's a very good system. Not a bunch of rev hang. They've been able to work out the rev hang with the manual transmission compared to the manuals in the Civic Si of previous generations. And like I said, just very, very nice short throws, and each gear, it has such crisp engagement. But we're gonna make a right here, and we're gonna go on throttle again. Like I said, I'll be a little bit more gingerly. Pulling out, nice light clutch. It's got a good pickup point. So if you are new to manual transmissions, this is a great transmission to learn with because the clutch is nice and light. It has a good pickup point, which, what does that mean? It means it's not like an on and off switch, like you don't know when the clutch engages. So that actually helps with the overall driving experience. But I think that being able to just leave it in third and go through your favorite twisty bits is just so much better with the manual. It's a stronger transmission as well. So that means it'll take a better beating as you're rolling through the gears, as you're doing your autocross, or even a track day. If that's something you wanted to do in this car, it'll take a better beating, and it's stronger than the CVT. But I'm telling you, they do a great job over at Honda and Acura with the actual steering and the steering input and how the steering feels. I guess if I was to change something, I would like just a little bit more horsepower. I think this car with 250 horsepower would really be a nice touch. Now, like I mentioned before, they are gonna be bringing a Type S eventually. Who knows what that's gonna be, but I think the A-spec with 250 horsepower would have been really, really magical. And I guess one of the things with the manual transmission, and I'll do another acceleration test here, is from first to second, it doesn't like hook up really well. So that's something to think about, but nice and easy. Here we go, rolling away, first gear, on throttle. So you get a nice little chirp, second gear, third, and then the downshifts. Automatic rev match. All right, guys, I changed the view. I wanted to give you a little bird's eye view there to kind of get a feel of what it's like to be behind the wheel of the new Integra. And you could see, like, having that shifter there, I don't know, it just kind of changes the whole personality of the vehicle. And I really think that even if you live in an area where maybe your work commute has a lot of traffic, I think that the clutch on this Integra is gonna not be a big issue for you in traffic, just because it is so very light and has a good pickup point. But being able to just road through your own gears, that's becoming a thing that you're gonna see less and less of. But it's nice that Acura stuck to their guns and said, hey, if we're doing the Integra's gotta be engaging, it's gotta be fun to drive. So of course, we would be crazy to not have a manual transmission. And the good news is, it's a good manual transmission. From a dead stop, like I said, to hook up without the traction control on from first to second, it's a little challenging, but when you're just driving, doing your favorite twisty road, that helical limited slip diff just does wonders for the overall driving connection between you and the road. All right, guys, I want to go on throttle with you. Point of view, first gear. Are you ready? I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. I'm telling you right now, that's worth the price of admission. But as you can see, the throws are very short, very crisp. I'm not ham-fisting the shifter. That's how nice of a shifter with the shifting action that this gearbox has. I mean, you just use your fingertips, your palm. You don't have to be Vin Diesel going through your 6-speed. Really, you know, you just did some steroids and now you're gonna rip the shift knob right off the car. Don't do that. That's actually bad for the transmission. But this is really just super crisp. Second gear. I'm sure you can see the tack light up telling you that you need a shift. And then you go down to first. And then you go on throttle. On throttle, here we go, up the hill. Little chirp from the tires. Chirping tires, a happy tire. You're definitely gonna have more fun with the manual transmission. But I'm hoping that this gave you enough intel, enough info to make a decision if you're on the fence, whether you should go CVT, whether you should go with the 6-speed manual, or if you were just wondering, well, how do they drive so differently? So what I want you to do is I want you to tally up how you feel. And when we go to wrap this one up, I want you to put it down in the comment section which way you would buy your new Integra A-spec. But since we got to get back to the ranch and wrap this one up, I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been some fun on throttle action. We've been giddying up here in Austin, Texas with the new 2023 Integra. Let me know what you think. Which way you're gonna go? Put it in the comment section. Are you impressed with the CVT? Are you just gonna go straight for the 6-speed manual? But before we sign off here, I have a special guest from Acura, Jonathan Rivers. Come on over. This man has so much input with the new Integra. Are you excited for this car?
Couldn't be more excited. You know, I've told my backstory where the first car I learned to drive a stick shift was an Integra GSR.
Awesome.
So, come full circle.
Yeah, you know, and that's what the great news is. It's not just about the cars, but the people behind the cars that are also enthusiasts like many of us. And then to kind of just sweeten up the deal a little bit, what do we have over here? What'd you guys bring?
This is the first gen Integra.
First gen Integra. And what's awesome is they brought a 4-door example to show and to make people remember that the Integra, even with the pop-up headlights, also was available as a 4-door, not just a coupe.
You know it, man. Having the lift gate, it's Integra heritage.
Yeah.
The manual.
The on-throttle fun.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
So definitely so glad to have Jonathan here. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
And an experience. I'm sure all of you enjoyed the on-throttle fun and enjoyment. If you're new, you know the drill. If you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raitis Rides family. We got to give it up to the muscle behind the lens. Lori out here in the hot Austin heat, making the magic happen. Thank you, Lori, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.